might even have to pull a hook, you get rolling, and go right ahead.
Oh yeah, he taught me off guard, I got that, all right. About 4 years ago, not for Thanksgiving actually, we received a call, the medic and I, Bowater is approximately 8 minutes from our base, and for an industrial accident, that's all we were told. We lift and head to the scene. We typically know when it's coming from Bowater that it's going to be bad. To be honest, y'all are all, most of you, I'm sure, nurses, medics here that understand when it's industrial, it's going to be bad. We get out on scene, and we still didn't know because the ambulance actually wasn't on scene. And we got out and we knew down there where we're from, it's kind of like the good old boys, everybody knows everybody. They all were kind of panicking and uproar, to be honest with you. I got out actually on scene and was told he's coming. It was an entrapment in a conveyor belt. He had gotten trapped by his legs in a conveyor belt, and we just were okay. Well, the ambulance rolled up on scene, and it was a smaller ambulance actually, and only one of us could get in with everybody crammed in like sardines in this thing. And so I got up actually in the truck, and I knew the paramedic on scene. I've known him for years, and they had a tourniquet on him in the position of basically comfort and the best they could considering his injuries. And I knew by looking at it, it was bad. I'm going to talk with the family sitting here. I knew that one, by looking at one leg, he was going to lose one right off the bat. The other one I wasn't sure. So I go up and talk to him, and I don't know how much of this he remembers from the initial scene. I knew they had medicated him right off the bat, and he looked at me right off and said, "I'm sorry." And I went, "Why?" And I told him who I was, and he said, "Because you're having to take care of me." And I said, "Well, honey, that's my job." And I said, "And I'm going to do the best I can." And then he looks at me and says, "Can I stay awake?" And I said, "Well, I'll try, but I'm going to take care of you, your pain, and I'm going to keep you awake as long as I can. And if I have to, we'll explain, what happens if we have to control his breathing." And I said, if I need to, I will. And I've explained how far we're about 15 minutes when we take off from the trauma center. And as long as your vitals and everything, I'm going to keep you awake so they can talk to you during our language and family can talk to you. So we transitioned to load up, which was an interesting transition to load with how his extremities were at the moment. And one of our pilots who does not like feet, I'll be honest with you, I had to argue with that pilot on helping us while he was doing some things, on helping me. I'm arguing with him on scene, and I'm like, "Mark, you're going to have to help." "No, Mark, you're going to have to help." So we get him loaded, and as we're flying down there, he looked at the ceiling a whole lot, and you could just see that when you do this for a while, and I'm on my 6th year, you can see him just shake his head. So I got down there and I talked to him a little bit. He was talking about his family. I knew he had daughters, and he told me how many, and I'm a parent, and I've got my two sons with me. I've got 3, and he's talking to me, and he's shaking his head, and you could just see what am I going to do? You could just read it on him. You could just see it. And so we're talking back and forth, and I kept his vitals maintained. We get down and we're offloading off the pad, and he did beautiful. We talked the whole way down there, and we get him, and I give him some more medicine, and we're walking across the pad at Erlanger, and he had the mask on, and I thought as we're walking across the pad that he was talking to me. So I moved his mask, and I asked him, and we'll try not to cry. I asked him, "Do you need anything?" And he typically when we fly patients, they're "Oh, woe is me." They're "Oh, woe is," why? They get angry, and they're angry at everything. And he wasn't. He was praying for his family, his daughters, his wife, and their safety to Erlanger, and their well-being, not for him. Not one prayer came out for him. And that is my connection, because he doesn't know what that did for me, to hear him pray for his family on that pad walking across the day before Thanksgiving. And he'll never know what that did for me. Just as a humble way that he prayed, and I knew what kind of heartfelt man he was. So we get down there, and I'm walking across the pattern, I'm offloading, and nobody heard that but me. And I actually was pregnant, and I missed his coming to the base later on, and I was all upset because I really wanted to share with him what that did for me. And so months went by, and walked into Cracker Barrel with my mom, and I was like, Mom, you know, I think that was the gentleman that I flew. And she's like, oh, go talk to him. I'm like, no. She's like, go talk to him. And I'm like, no. And our first encounter actually was months later. I walked up and put my hand on him, and he busted into tears in Cracker Barrel, and I'm begging him, please don't cry, please don't cry, please don't cry. And I got to meet his wife and share with them. Let me tell you what kind of man that you had, because as he was at his worst injury that he could have, knowing what is going to happen, he was praying for you and your safety and your family. So that leads up to getting to share his testimony with you guys tonight, and what caliber of a man that I know that I would want my voice to be, what caliber of a woman that I would want to be in flying patients and coming back home. Mr. Chuck Evans.